Well everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 6s and see how this particular iPhone holds up in the later part of 2023. Now I will definitely tell every single one of you guys, do not go ahead and buy this phone anymore. It makes zero sense at all to buy a phone like this. You are just so much better off buying a device that is still supported with software. So keep that in the mind in the back of your head. Beyond that though, I think the iPhone 6s, like I mentioned so many years ago, it's still like a very, very relevant, it's still like an interesting iPhone to look at. This thing would not be an iPhone I'd recommend people to buy, but this thing brought a lot of stuff to the table. Now, number one, this iPhone did actually end up getting a few software updates this particular year, which is pretty crazy. So this thing did end up getting iOS 15.7, I think, and I think 15.7.2 or 3 that we're on now. So that's actually a really big thing. When you're getting an iPhone, like an iPhone, 6s, you're not really getting the latest and greatest iPhone. I think that's kind of what you'd expect. But this is still an iPhone that's still kind of supported with software, which is very, very interesting. But like I said, this would not be an iPhone I'd recommend people to buy. It's an outdated iPhone in so many ways. But the fact that this particular phone is still kind of getting software updates and software support in that specific way is actually pretty insane to me. And that in and of itself is a very, very crazy thing. Beyond that though, I will tell you, with the iPhone 6s, in the exterior body, this thing still looks almost exactly the same as an iPhone SE. Obviously there's some differences, the iPhone SE looks better, but the 6s still has that 4.7-inch IPS panel on the front, big bezels on the top and bottom. You can do the lightning port at the bottom, headphone jack, the aluminum back too. Like, this is actually a pretty good looking back on this phone, which is honestly very surprising for how old this phone is. And I do think this stuff in and of itself is actually very, very surprising. I will tell you, for the most part, this is a very good looking phone. Clearly it's not perfect, but I do think, Apple, for the most part, did a really decent job with this phone when it first came out. And I still think, at least from a body standpoint, it's still holding up well. But like I mentioned earlier, the worst part about this phone is probably the software standpoint. The fact that this thing is already kind of outdated with software is kind of a problem. And that's the number one reason why I would not recommend anyone to purchase this phone or even think about purchasing this phone. That's just kind of what happens when you're getting this type of device. And, it's kind of sad to say, but this is just not a good phone from that perspective. You're just pretty much at a standstill when it comes down to this phone still being supported with software. So keep that in mind, but that's kind of how it's kind of summed up there. Performance-wise, it's kind of what you'd expect as well. It's really not that great of a performing phone. And that's just, once again, kind of what happens when you're getting this type of device. It's already in this really weird situation where it's no longer supported with software, and the performance just really isn't that good either. So you're just in this really weird standstill situation where this phone is just kind of stuck, where it's just not really worth buying for a multitude of different reasons. And that's just kind of, once again, what happens when you're getting this type of device. So what I'll tell you is, overall, the iPhone 6s really isn't a phone I'd recommend any single person to buy anymore. It's outdated, it's stuck, it's just a really weird iPhone, but it was a really good iPhone when it first came out. And I think that's something that actually means a lot. This iPhone was the first one to bring 4K, video, the first one to bring 2 gigabytes of RAM, first one to bring Touch ID 2, so many different things. And I think that's actually a really, really cool thing that ended up happening. So overall, that's kind of how I'd sum up this specific, late review. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.